Act 1 Middle School, Chapter 7. Don't forget to leave a vote/like on the chapter. It keeps me motivated. 2 days later. Hey, check it out. Was Kaido's eyes always purple before? Someone asked their friend as they walked past me. Who cares? Check out his hair. I'm certain it was black before. Her friend commented, observing the obvious. No way. Do you think he dyed it? Ignoring them as I walked with my head hung low, eyes partially open, bags clearly visible beneath my eyes. I can't sleep a wink, walking at a slower pace than the rest of those stepping through the school doors. Bringing myself to my locker. Stopping in front of my locker, I raise my head and try to put in my combination. But halfway through I just give up. I didn't have it in me anymore. Pressing my forehead against the locker. Maybe. I'm not ready to come back after all. I mumble beneath my breath in a tone of defeat. Just get through the day. I sit here, like this for at least 5 minutes before someone confronted me in the crowded hallway. Hey, Kaido. The voice of Cooper Crooper spoke from behind me. I narrow my eyes, speaking in an almost disrespectful tone. I wasn't in the mood for his stupid shit today. If we're gonna fight, then I won't hold back this time. What I snap back, rubbing behind his head, averting his gaze, he spoke in a voice of remorse. I heard what happened to your mother the other day on the news, and I just wanted to say, I'm here if you ever want to talk. I part my eyes, sort of taken aback by the kind words. For a moment, I felt like I was the dick this time. I glare over my shoulder at him, but keep my head rested forwards against the locker, speaking in a subtly appreciative tone, but it's overshadowed by a strong sense of, thanks, but I'll be fine, bringing my head off the locker and continuing into the hallway towards class. Walking into class, people talking, carrying on about their morning as though the world isn't falling about around them again. No, I find my seat, placing my things over the table as I sat down, having my own realization. The world isn't crashing in over top them. It's my world that's falling apart again. I can hear my own voice echo in the back of my head. The memories just stuck on repeat. Since I rescued Mom, it's pathetic how much you're resisting. The flash of a hand reaching out and grabbing my face. As I struggled with all my might to get my mother's charred body off the ground. My right arm muscles twitch. Some kind of instinct or PTSD of the night keeps trying to trigger my gun arm, which is all I have left. I narrow my eyes over my right arm, staring at the hinge lines of my elbow. That hint to anyone that I had my mother's quirk still in my system. I tisp, gritting my teeth. That bastard's voice echoes. I can see myself clutching Mom in my arms. Tight, refusing to let go. I glance down at my left arm, trying to flex its muscles, trying to bring back out of me Father's strength enhancer. But no matter what I do, it never returns. I close my eyes tight as I hear the sounds of gunshots, the distinct sound of those red and black blades shattering, before a subtle sensation along my still badly bruised up back tingles, hearing the distinct sound of a large amount of glass shattering when I hit the elevator. Did I do the right thing? Leaving like that? Sitting forwards, bringing my arms beneath my head as I began to fall asleep in class, exhausted. I'd slept at most 4 hours in the last 3 days, staying up with Mom every second I could, afraid if I fell asleep, that when I woke up, she'd be gone. But you can never take what my mother gave to me. Never. Perhaps I was wrong. I hear myself scream bloody murder in a voice of defiance. In my moment of slumber, I gently clutch my right arm at the hinge, still feeling it was there. Hearing Mom's voice when I was 8, after I conveyed my desires to become a hero to her, to make people smile, so I could protect the ones I love and those others love as well. She didn't want me to become a hero, but she supported me. That day, Mom brought me out to a shooting range and began teaching me how to fire and work the rifle/gun arm quirk. Beyond just extending and retracting the gun in and out of my arm. I recall a conversation with Mom after I picked up on how to make bullets curve and move through the air and still find perfect accuracy. When you're older, can you do something for Mommy? I hear a younger, much younger self response, and she replied, use that quirk to save people. Mommy has, glancing away from me as she continued. when her whole life hurting people in the pursuit of protecting people. But she never got anywhere, returning her sight onto me with hope in her eyes. Hopeful that I would be better than she. I want you to save people with it, not kill. Killing should be your absolute last resort. Okay, I hear a younger self cheerfully accept my mother's request, at the time too young to understand the pain in my mother's eyes. That moment was a sign, a moment of my mother crying out and plead that I didn't make the mistakes she made her entire life. I remember using the specific wording of, "I'll use your quirk to help people." And she corrected me, smiling brighter as she ruffled my hair. "Sweetie, I think you're mistaken. That quirk isn't just mommy's anymore. It's ours, and I want you to use it, because you'll do great things with it someday. I just know it." I hear myself now screaming it all for one, my words echoing through me, the only echo that keeps the gun quirk locked within me, locked down and refusing to fade. It's not your quirk to take. I slowly begin to reopen my eyes, hearing the bell ringing. No one tried to wake me up the entire class period. The teacher almost always wakes up students when she finds them slacking and sleeping, without remorse, usually with a slap atop the head. But no one woke me. I find myself in a puddle of my own tears when I woke. I realize why now. Standing up, I wipe my tears and slap both my hands together against either side of my face twice. Waking myself up. Get back in the game, Kaido. I gather my things and begin into the hallway. Suck it up, damn it. You've got shit to do, Kaido. Mom wouldn't want you to stress like this. I think to myself, before I can leave the classroom during transition period. However, my name comes over the intercoms. "Tsutsumi, please come to the principal's office. Tsutsumi, please come to the principal's office." I glance up at the speaker and complain as I scratch the side of my head. Oh, that's just great. A few minutes later, the principal walks me to the parent-teacher conference room instead of his office, opening the door as he spoke to those inside the room. If you would, just send him back to class once you're done. I'll have a written tardy excuse waiting for him on the reception desk. I walked in after him holding the door for me. I didn't realize until I entered the room that there was at least one face I recognized. But given just how out of it and depressed I've been these last 3 days, I couldn't find a single excited bone left in my body. "Of course. Thank you, sir. We won't take long." All Might spoke, bowing with a sense of appreciation and respect to the principal. "Of course, and do. Please take your time." With that, closing the door, there was All Might, older dude in yellow, and a guy who looked kind of like a detective, police officer maybe. I stood in front the closed doorway, observing the three briefly. I get the feeling this has to do with Mom. I asked in a worried tone, reaching up and rubbing my right arm as I approached the table. Walking towards me, All Might extended a hand to shake, speaking in a heroic tone. "That's correct. We were made aware by the police that you and your mother encountered someone, calling themselves All for One, with the ability to take quirks. Is this correct?" I nodded, but I don't shake his hand, instead explaining further. It was a white-haired man. He had a healing quirk, some kind of spike quirk, that allowed red and black spikes to exit through his back and track objects, and a quirk that allowed him to steal quirks. "And you're certain he can steal quirks?" He wasn't just saying that, the detective in the room asked. A normal question, since I didn't disclose to the police at the station how I knew the guy could steal quirks, beyond him saying it. I didn't want to compromise my true identity and cause Mom more headache. But I trust All Might. Anyone who doesn't trust him is a fool. I can tell you how I know, without a shadow of a doubt. But first, I need to know who I'm telling this to, why, and if you can keep a secret. Because at the moment, only the wild pussy cats, Mom, and one other know what I'm about to say. They all look at each other with puzzlement. That must not have been something they expected me to say. Walking past All Might, I grab and sit in a chair at the conference table, sighing, allowing them to introduce themselves and voice their intentions. Minutes later, and so I gave Mom the go-ahead on my own accord. I wanted to take up her last name and be known as her son by blood, not by adoption. And the detective working on my case made sure the paper trail reflected so. So, When you ask how I know this man can steal quirks, I point to my quirk, my ability to stockpile and copy quirks that of those I have high affinity for. People I love and the other half of that quirk, which allow me to feel not only my own inner chi, but other people's as well. It gave me the ability to feel intentions, sense malice, and emotion. It vanished after he grabbed my face, and since that day, I lost my biological mother's light, bending quirk, and my father's strength enhancer quirks. The only thing that remains, and I can't seem to explain how or why, beyond sheer will and denial to lose it, is mom's gun arm, which by all rights should have left me after I lost my quirk. I admit, staring down on my right arm at the hinge creases. They stare on at me in a sense of intense study. I let out a deep sigh of discomfort. I was once again reliving trauma that is so fresh in my mind. I can't stop thinking about it. So, All for One was going to use your mother to lure you into a secluded location of his choosing at another date. But your mother relayed a ping of her location just before she went unconscious without the big guy noticing, which is why you were able to locate them before he could escape with her. You fought him, proved to be a stronger foe than he expected. In trying to save her, you focused sourly on your mother's well-being and not your own. And that ultimately worked out in your favor, being able to save your mother. But it also came at the price of losing your quirk in the process. And now you've only got your mother's gun arm, as the last embers remaining of your now gone, stockpiling quirk. And with those embers, you managed to secure, rescue, and escape with your mother, alive by the skin of your teeth. Now, those embers linger on, for an unexplainable reason. The gun arm quirk lingers and refuses to expunge itself from your body, despite what powers allowed you to achieve and acquire it in the first place, being long gone. That sound like an accurate summary. The old man, Grand Torino, spoke, assessing and breaking down what I'd explained unto them today into simplistic details. I nod, hanging my head forwards, still burning holes through my right arm with my gaze. I close my eyes tight, feeling terrible. I can't kick the feeling that somehow it wasn't them who did this to Mama. But, God, they had to know. They're heroes too. For God's sake, they've had to work alongside Mom before, right? Who else can I vent it out to? I part my lips, with tears beginning to dribble down my face as I spoke with a sense of terrible dissatisfaction. To the system that worked my mom into the grave. I begin my speech as a boy, and as I progress, I fell apart into just that, a boy, a confused and mourning little boy. She never told me to my face how much she disliked her job, but she always talked in her sleep about the guilt and distaste for her job, especially in recent times. Mama wanted nothing more than to leave her hero job for something else. She felt guilt for the way she used her quirk. All she ever wanted to do with her quirk was save people, but all she ever got done doing was being forced to kill. She always said she wanted to get out somehow, but for some reason, she never did. What? Was my mom not allowed to leave? AR heroes not allowed to retire? TOTO leave? Why did the Hero Commission work my mom into her grave? What were they making her do that made the life in her eyes seemingly disappear? Why did my mom have to cry every night, alone in her room, because she didn't want to do what she was doing anymore? Why did Mama just quit? Why couldn't my mom just be happy? Is that too much to ask? To let someone's mom be happy? It's not fair. I asked near the end, sorta blaming everyone in the room with how I was talking, never once raising my head. I was just a little kid confused and pissed off that the world could be so harsh to the most kindest and loving woman I know. To a mother who's done nothing but try her best, do her damnedest to protect people, to raise me. I never saw Mom back down from anything. Never, even when she was scared. Why, it's not fair. Mama lived her whole life. To terrified, T.O. livid, staring at me with a mix of emotions, expressions, and thoughts. Somehow, everyone in the room knew a truth. That I, the son of an assassin, did not know. I wouldn't learn until later in life. But my mother was a public face for the Safety Commission. But her primary job was to do the dirty work of the commission, killing villain and heroes alike. And that had driven my mother to the deep end so many times. But somehow, and I don't know how, these three knew. And now from my speech, from the context clues alone, knew that for some reason, my mother never left a job she absolutely despised, one that had ate her alive, her whole life. And they knew from those clues alone exactly why and who to blame. All Might stood up and stopped alongside me, crouching down level with me as he spoke. Heroes have the right to leave anytime they want, retiring because you've had enough, quitting because you don't enjoy what you do, and leaving a job because you want a different one are all completely normal things in life. Things that should never be frowned upon. I can tell you're really worried about the life your mother led in her work. And I see now, your mother must have had something terrible in her work that cemented her to it. Something made her feel obligated to remain where she didn't wish to stay. And I promise you, Dash, placing a hand atop my shoulder, with his eyes glowing blue in the moment, a sign of his conviction to do, as he was about to say, I will find out what it was that made your mother suffer for so many years inside of her trade, and I will personally ensure it never happens again. To anyone. Ever. That I promise you. I raise my head, glancing over at him while I try to slow my waterworks. But the image of Mom's many tear-filled nights, alone in her bedroom, kept me from calming. It's not my fault, but I keep blaming myself. Like what's happened to Mom all these years was somehow my doing. Tashinori, Gran Torino murmured in response to the promise. 40 minutes later, I stood up, preparing to leave the conference room, having gave as much information as I could about my brief encounter with All for One as I could provide them. As I'm leaving, Gran Torino stopped me, asking a peculiar question. Oh, and one more thing. Your principal told us that you're aspiring to become a hero yourself someday, pushing yourself across the boards in your academics to get into a hero academy next year. I stop in front of the closed door, hand on the handle as I don't look back. I just stand there, silent. It sounds as though you've watched your mother go through a great deal of trauma and hardship over the years because she was a hero. I just thought it was odd that you'd still want to charge headlong into something you've seen tear and eat apart someone else. I was hoping you could shed a little light onto it for me, help an old man to better understand it. I slowly raised my head, it no longer hanging as I spoke, sounding sure of myself when I did. My mother had to go her whole life, using her gun with the intent to kill, being her way of saving others. I want to show to the world that I can use that same gun to save everyone without killing. He tilted his head, speaking as he closed his eyes, speaking in a sense of understanding. I see. Kid, I don't say this often, but you'll be a fine hero someday. Maintain that mindset, and I think you may even surpass All Might someday. I, if only momentarily, smile to the vote of confidence. Thank you, Gran Torino. Thank you. With that, I opened the door and stepped out of the conference room, heading back to class. End of chapter 7.